Okay, so let's get started. And we're gonna start lying on your back again. So if you have a little pillow for your head, that'd be great. And you're going to just let the legs extend. You're going to let the arms lie by your side. The palms can face up or face down. I like to face them up because it gives my shoulders a nice opening. External rotation is always good for the shoulders. And then just take a couple deep breaths here. Nice deep breath in. And on the exhale, softening all of the bones, the pelvis, the skull, the upper arm bones, the ribs, the heels. Feel again where and how your body touches the floor. No judgment, it's just an observation. If your back doesn't feel particularly good in this position with your legs straight, bend your knees a little bit. So bending the knees a little bit and putting the feet on the floor will always unload the pull on the lumbar spine, and that is totally fine. We really want to start and practice to listen and to feel what the body is telling us. And pain and discomfort is usually the body saying, stop it, change what you're doing. Take one more deep breath in and exhale, allowing for the bones to soften down to the floor, for the cranium to spread, all of the cranial bones spreading down. We're releasing the pelvic floor, releasing the soles of our feet, the palms of our hands, the eyes. And then start to bend the knees a tiny bit if your legs are still straight. And we're going to just start with those little pelvic tilts, and they can be challenging. And I'm going to use a different image today. Since we're in the Southwest, I'm going to use the image of wagon wheels. And if we imagine we have two hip bones, and either one of those is a big wheel, big wooden wheel, and you can make this you can give the wheels a color, you can make them old wheels or new wheels, whatever you want. And the crazier the image, really, the crazier your wheel. I had a client once, she made it pink polka dots. The more you catch your brain's attention. So visualize your wheels, and there might be a little bit crooked right now. And it's very normal that our pelvis is not perfectly aligned and parallel. And so our wheels are not perfectly aligned and parallel. So what we're going to do is we're going to visualize our wheels and they become parallel. And I like to think of a beautiful road here in the Southwest. We have these endless roads with endless sky. It's this beautiful straight road, and my wheels are all of a sudden becoming straighter and straighter on this beautiful road, going somewhere very special. And just thinking about those wheels becoming parallel will probably change some weightedness in your pelvis. There will be a shift in, maybe one hip becomes heavier, one hip becomes lighter. You might feel that, or you might feel nothing. No pressure here. But what we're going to do is here with our parallel wheels, and it might even take a couple of minutes or weeks before your wheels become parallel. And we're going to start to move our wheels now together. So that is the smallest what we can ask for. We're going to send our sits bones down and away from our rib cage. Not very big, it's a very small tilt. And then on your exhale, we're going to tilt the wheels. We're going to roll the wheels towards the rib cage. And we're going to inhale, we're going to send the wheels away. arching the low back a little bit, tilting our pelvis forward. And then we're going to roll the wheels towards the rib cage. And really all you want to observe is, are both wheels doing the same thing at the same time? And that's not always a given. So our observation goes deep into the hip. And can I move both hip bones together? Same speed, same direction. We'll do one more time. We're going to arch the back, the wheels wheel away. And then we're going to curl and the wheels roll towards our rib cage. And then we're going to come to what we would call probably a neutral in Pilates. Kind of just, where does your pelvis want to come to rest without any effort? And all of our pelvi are different. So one of us is a little more tilted, the other one is more extended. Just coming to rest here. And then extend your legs for a moment and extend your arms overhead. It's as if you're going for a big yawn in the morning. Imagine waking up and like, oh, I just want to reach. I want to stretch. Yet this stretch here, as we're going to start to reach the palms and the heels away from each other, is not so much a stretch. We call this actually pendiculation. If you have an animal, they do that all the time. They're doing their downward dogs and their cat backs. And so we're going to reach our palms away from our feet, our heels. You're flexing your feet and you're going to make yourself as long as you can. And as you're reaching here, soles of the feet away from the soles of the hand, palms of the hand, take a couple of deep breaths in. And take one more deep breath, widening through the back body, bringing the air all the way down into your lungs, and exhale. And then we're starting to reach the right hand and the right heel away from each other. The left side is not going to reach. And you're adding, so you're coming into a little side bend to the left. So the right foot and the right hand reach. And then we're going to release that. And then the left hand and the left heel reach. So we're doing these small little side bends. You're going to reach the right hand and the right foot away from each other. Maybe your head turns to the left and looks over the left shoulder. And then we're reaching the left hand and the left heel away from each other. You can look over your right shoulder. Deep breath into the left rib cage. We're going to do this one more time each side. Right hand, right foot, reach away. And left hand and left foot reach away. And then release that. If your legs are good, straight, or if your back is okay with your legs being straight, just keep the legs straight. Take your hands down by your side again. You can face the palms to the ceiling. And already check in and see what has changed here. Probably quite a little bit. Okay, we're going to bend the knees one more time here. Feet are flat on the floor, about hip bone distance apart. And we're going to roll the wheels one more time away from the pelvis. And then we're going to roll the wheels toward the pelvis, both wheels at the same time. And then you're going to come to rest right in the middle. So we did our anterior or forward tilt and then our posterior tilt. And then we're finding again neutral, or your personal neutral, really. There's not one size fits all. And then imagine, so this is more imagery again, you're going to pull your wheels towards each other. So in between your hip bones is your sacrum. This is fused vertebrae of your spine. And you're going to draw the hips towards the sacrum, which is the axle of your wagon. So the wheels snap into the axle, and this is your pelvic stability. This is your pelvic base of support. Okay. So this is, we're gonna work with this quite a bit today. If you can, we have different levels here. You can start to roll up Pilates way. If not, you can turn onto your side. Definitely turn onto your side. If this is too much of a stretch already, we're going to go to the side and you're going to walk yourself up to sitting. And we're going to sit again in this cross-legged shape. And if your back, definitely, if your back is sore or is for your back, it's tough to sit fairly upright, put a little pillow or two pillows underneath your pelvis. We want to make sure that our pelvis is not, that we're not sitting like this for long periods of time. This is really what overstretches the lumbar spine and what results in soreness, pain, bad mood. So we're sitting on our little pillow or on two pillows. I don't hesitate to add another pillow, right? And we're going to bend the knees, crossing the legs, and we're going to do our little pelvic tilts here. So we're thinking about the wagon wheels. Yeah. Yeah, and that should be way more comfortable now, sitting a little bit higher. So tiny little, so we're going to think about, we're pushing the pillow forward. That's going to be a little bit of a rounded lower back. And then we're going to pull the pillow with our sits bones behind us. And noticing, you can even put your hands onto your rib cage. We want not the ribs to move first. We really want just the pelvis to move. And this might be super small. No worries, right? We're reprogramming in a way your body to do different things. So little tilts. And then the most important part is, can I stick my butt out? Can I push the sits bones back? Yeah. Let's do this one more time. Rocking the pelvis backwards. And then you're going to push the sits bones back. Now, as you push the sits bones back, now let's see if we can come into a little bit of a forward bend. Put your hands on the floor in front of your knees and push your legs down into the floor as much as you can. So what happens is your whole hip joint and your legs should be starting to activate here. And we're breathing. You're going to try and maintain the pressure down of your legs. That should activate your glutes. It should activate your abdominals a little bit. All of your legs should be quite talking to you already. And we're breathing. And then let that release. Good. Let's straighten the legs for a moment. And with straighten, I always mean we're going to keep a little bend in the knees. Tiny bend or a big bend. If I do not want hyperextension in the knees. You want to have a little bend here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull the heels down into the floor, and you're going to pull the sits bones back, and you're going to try and just sit here and breathe. So this is all isometric work. This is work where we're not really moving anything, but we are engaging. We're engaging pretty much everything. So we're pulling the heels down into the floor, and we're pulling the sits bones back. Imagine you want to push that pillow behind you, and we're going to soften the rib cage just a little bit. And we're breathing. Breathe all the way down into your pelvis. Letting the shoulders relax. If you need to hold on with your hands to your legs, you can do that. But you want to definitely pull your heels down into the floor. And then let that release. So it's quite hard actually to keep that amount of engagement for a longer period of time. So let's cross the legs the other way. How do you know what was the first way? Go where you want to go first. We always have a side we choose. My right foot is always in front of my left foot. And then switch that. Exactly. Good. So we're going to do just 2, 3 of our little pelvic tilts. I'm drawing my knees apart. So this is just a directional intention of pulling the knees away from each other. You should feel some engagement again around the adductors. We don't want to stretch them. We just want to work them. And we're arching, pulling the sits bones back. And we're curling, sits bones push forward. My wagon wheels pull away from me. And then I'm pulling my wagon wheels underneath me. And we'll do one more time. Tiny little tilts. And then nice. And then the sits bones pull back. And then staying right here, I'm going to push my legs down into the floor. Even if your knees are not touching the floor, my knees don't touch the floor, but just find that intention of pushing down into the earth, and then pull the sits bones a little bit more back up the kidneys. Your fingertips could be on the floor here, and just finding a little forward bend. The important part is about our forward bend that we're not finding extension in it. There's a lot of times this is a bad habit from yoga. I have it myself. We want to pull the kidneys back and feel how that activates your abdominals here. Find your breath. Maybe if your legs are really strong and you want to challenge yourself, you could even take your hands off the floor. But if this is already challenging, keep your fingertips. Pull the fingers as much down as you have to. Even try it out. If you pull the fingertips a little more down into the floor, the work in the leg diminishes. And if you pick up your hands, your legs have to pull more down into the floor. And that's kind of the beauty of working in these really slow movement postures and finding the isometric engagement. Very good. We'll straighten the legs one more time. We're going to pull the heels down into the floor, and we're going to do a forward bend here. So I'm always initiating from my sits bones, and I'm going to turn the palms up to the ceiling. Imagine you're holding 2 little cups of tea. Pull the heels down into the floor, pull the kidneys back. We're relaxing the shoulders, and we're breathing here. Your hamstrings, the back of your legs, should be very engaged. If you feel a stretch here, engage your legs more. You got to work. I like to think of my muscles are hugging my bone. They're coming closer onto the bone, and the pressure or the stretch feeling should be going away. If it's not going away, you're going to back up a little bit. We don't want to ride the stretch. We're not seeking stretch ever. Stretch is your body actually saying, can you stop, please? It's too much for me. So feeling the sensation and then work it more. Beautiful. And then push down into your heels to come back up. And you're pushing down into your sits bones. So the work is still happening. Very good. And then bring your legs together. And let's come and lie on the back again, please. So you're have your pillow hopefully there for now. And take a little moment. Straighten your legs. And breathe. Hi, Piggy. He's saying hello. And palms can face up. And already feel how much more relaxed and heavy, I hope, I can feel it in my pelvis quite dramatically. My lower back is way more closer to the floor. It's not totally pushed in the floor, but my kidneys are just gently touching the floor. Okay, we're going to bend the knees. And we're going to have the feet flat on the floor, parallel. Your arms are by your side. And you're going to pull your heels. And this is, again, without moving. You're pulling your feet and your heels towards your shoulder blades. And you're going to draw the shoulder blades a little bit towards your heels. Notice if your ribs are lifting up. We want to try and keep those ribs really heavy on the floor. If they popped up, let them soften back down, and maybe do a little less of pulling with the feet and the shoulders. But then let that release altogether. We're going to do that again. So the heels and the shoulders pull towards each other. Maybe even my skull is gently pulling back into the floor. My sits bones are heavy and my kidneys are heavy. And my whole back body is holding me on the earth. I'm pulling myself into the earth. And then let that release. And we'll do that one more time. Sits bones heavy, kidneys heavy, feet pull into the earth, shoulders pull down towards your feet. And then see if with that engagement, this is a pre-engagement, can I lift my pelvis a tiny bit up? Now you have to make sure you're finding your glutes here. Your buttocks muscles should be on. And my pants are still literally touching the floor. It's not about a very high bridge. Guys, go really slow here. You want to make sure your legs are working. If your lower back is working here, lower your pelvis back down. Let's lower the pelvis down altogether. We'll stay here for a moment. Take a nice deep breath in. You're going to pull the heels to the shoulders and the shoulders to the heels, pre-engaging my back body. My toes are very active as well. Check in with the big toes. Sometimes the knees want to go out and we're coming to the outside of the foot, to the pinky toe side. We want to definitely make sure the big toe is heavy, the inner heel is heavy, and I'm picking up my pelvis just a little bit. I'm hanging my ribs in the hammock. I'm letting them just completely chill out. I'm dropping my sits bones, my wagon wheels away from my ribs. My big toe is heavy. My shoulders are pulling into the earth. And I hope we're getting a little hamstring cramp here. And then slowly lower down. If you haven't lowered down already. So if this should cramp your hamstrings, I would say congratulations. It's a really, really good sign that you are in the right muscle. You want to feel your hamstrings here. It's just that cramp is your hamstrings really saying, I can't do that so long or just yet. So we'll go through this one more time. You're going to pull the heels to the shoulders. The more you practice this is the baby bridge. The more you practice it, the stronger your hamstrings will get and you will stop cramping. We're going to lift back up. Sits bones drop, ribs, kidneys are heavy. And then maybe here, you could stay here, totally fine. But you could also say, can I use my glutes and my hamstrings more to lift my pelvis a little bit higher off the earth? I'm keeping my big toes heavy. My inner thighs are dropped. My knees are still parallel. They might want to sway out to the side. Try to resist that. And then slowly lower the pelvis back down. Sits bones first. Now take your heels together and your toes apart. So we're doing a little V shape with our feet. And we're going to pull the knees slightly away from each other. So in a way, it's like you're sitting upright, cross-legged. We're not quite cross-legged here, but we're pulling isometrically the heels away from each other. I'm dropping my sits bones. So there's this little anterior forward tilt in my pelvis, and I'm going to drop my kidneys. My feet are flexed to protect my knees, so my shins are quite active. And all I'm doing here is breathing. I am drawing the knees away from the center of the body. I'm softening the kidneys, and I am breathing all the way down into the marrow level of my bone, into my hip joints. If you feel a stretch in your inner thighs here, pick up the knees just a little bit. Actually, even if you don't feel a stretch, pick up the inner thighs a millimeter, tiny, tiny bit. And then notice how your whole leg is actually working now. I'm shaking here. My legs are literally shaking because I'm working this shape so much. Again, we're not seeking a stretch, we're seeking strength. And then slowly you're going to walk your feet back to parallel. Your knees become parallel as well. Do a couple of little tilts in the pelvis. Just easy, rocking the soup bowl. That's another image that I really like. If you think about your pelvis as a bowl of soup, and you can make it any soup you like. I really like lobster bisque. So I like something that's creamy and heavy. It's not a chicken noodle soup, but I'm rocking the bowl of my pelvis. It doesn't have a steady floor. It's a round bottom bowl. And I'm rocking the soup to spill towards my face. And I'm rocking the bowl to spill towards my feet. And you'll notice towards your feet, the soup might not even spill anywhere, but you can spill the soup towards your rib cage. This is a great way to have some real soft, easy, gentle access to your anterior posterior tilt in the pelvis. All right, let's walk the feet all the way close together. And if that is uncomfortable for your inner thighs, you can widen them a tiny bit. Sometimes we have a hard time getting the knees that close together. You're going to have your big toes touching, but your heels are slightly apart. So we're having a little pigeon-toed stance. I'm going to drop the sits bones away from the pelvis, from my rib cage, and I'm going to soften my kidneys. I'm pulling my heels and my shoulders towards each other. I'm lifting my pelvis back up into a bridge. Tiny bridge, baby bridge. Now I'm shifting my pelvis side to side. We call this the typewriter hips. I'm going to move like I had a little skateboard underneath my pelvis, just side to side. So this action, we're going to talk about this later as well, is walking. We need to be able to move our hips side to side for good walking mechanics. And let's say next time you're going to shift your hip to the right. I also call this the right sassy hip. Can you lift your left heel or your left foot off the floor? This might not happen. You can also just think about it, right? And then lower the left foot down right next to your right foot. And we're going to shift the pelvis to the left. Left hip is sassy. Left big toe is heavy, and I'm going to pick up my right foot. Can I hang the kidneys? Can I hang the diaphragm? Again, you can just lift your toes or your heel up. Setting the right foot down, you're going to shift back to the right. Maybe the hamstrings are talking to you. We're going to lift up the left foot. Right hip is sassy. Ribs are really heavy. My shoulders, even my triceps couldn't pull down into the floor. Switch sides. Shifting to the left sassy hip, right foot lifts. And lower the right foot down. Bring the pelvis to the center and then lower the pelvis down. And then straighten your legs one more time. Take a nice breath. Feel. I'm assuming your low back and your hips are a little closer to the floor again. Maybe your upper rib cage. Maybe your breath is just also a little bit fuller. Take one more big breath in. Feel this. Can you breathe all the way down into the kidneys? Very good. And then bend your knees. We're going to turn onto our side. I'm going to turn on my right side here. So you might want to do the same. And then I'll cue the left. Use your hand underneath your head. Or if you have a pillow, you can, where's my second pillow? We can do a pillow here for your head to be in a nice alignment, and your cervical spine is in a good place here. Okay, we're going to straighten both legs here, and we're going to flex both feet. Now, as I say straighten legs, we always want to be mindful of not locking our knees. We're going to turn the right foot to the floor so your right toes are tucked under. And you're going to turn your left toes to the ceiling. And you should right away feel some engagement in your glutes, in your hip. Now, you're going to turn the top leg also to the floor. And we're just going to lift up the top heel. So I'm leading with the heel as I'm lifting the leg up. I don't want to lead with my toes. The toes are still facing the floor. We call this also internal rotation, the toes facing the floor. This is unlike something we do probably most of the day. Most of us are very externally rotated. It helps with balance. It's very common, but lift the heel and go slow. Turn the toes. So lift the leg up for a moment. Now look at your toes and see, are they pointing to the ceiling or are they pointing to the floor? Maybe they're just pointing straight ahead. That's fine too. But you don't want to, we don't want to go external rotation with the top leg. We want to have this parallel or slightly internally rotated. Now let's do little circles here. Pull that bottom leg down into the floor, back up the kidneys, back up the diaphragm, and we're going to circle. I hope your glutes are getting tired. We're going to reverse our circle. Do 5. 5 to 7 is always a good number for Pilates. Not that we're attached to numbers here, but you don't have to do 20. And then release. Very good. Now we're going to step the left foot in front of the right foot. We're going to reach the left hand up to the ceiling. Both legs are still straight. Both legs are still straight. It's just the left toes are now tucking the floor. And you're going to turn your head to look up to the ceiling. So here's our rotation. We're going to just look at that left hand. We're going to back up the kidneys. So we're softening the kidneys back in space. You should feel your abdominals activating. And we're breathing. We're breathing all the way up into the head, into the skull, into the neck. And your eyes are trying to look behind your left shoulder. If your nose is going all the way up to the ceiling, you already have maximum spinal rotation here. You don't have to work any harder. Just be here and breathe. Very good. And then slowly unrotate that. We're going to do the other side. You're going to lie on your left side. Good boy. You good boy. Yes. Go to the carpet. Yes. Okay. So on the left side, both legs are straight. The bottom toes now are tucked under. So here's our external rotation. We're backing up the kidneys a little bit, and then we're going to lift the top leg up, but we're turning the toes to the floor. And we're going to do our leg lifts here. You should feel this a lot on the outside of your hip. If you feel this at all in your knee, bend the knee a tiny bit and going slow. You're leading with the heel. You're reaching as if you wanted to touch the wall on the other side of you. You're going to reach. That's it. Nice. We're trying to stabilize the top hip. If the top hip rolls back as we're lifting the leg up, back up in how high you're lifting the leg. The leg can be, 12 inches off the floor, maybe 8. But you want to keep the top hip very stable. And then after the next, we're going to do one more lift, and we're going to do tiny little circles here. We're going to pull the thigh bone back. The top hip can pull a little bit forward. So we're resisting very consciously hip rotation. We're keeping the hip very much aligned and in space, right on top of the bottom hip. So my wagon wheels are super stacked. Very good. I think we switched already. We're going to release. Take a little moment. And then we're going to go one more time. We're going to lift the leg hip height, slight internal rotation, and we're going to do little kicks here. The top of the thigh bone is pulling back. The top hip is staying nice and stable. My kidneys are yielding back in space. So my lumbar spine is not arching or curling. We're just staying very, very stable here. This is the abdominal work that we're looking for. It doesn't have to always be crunches, just little kicks here and then release. And then you're going to take your top foot, your right foot forward. You're going to tuck the toes under, and you're going to reach your right hand up to the ceiling. And we're going to look at the right hand. Take a nice deep breath. Widening the back body as you're breathing in, and you're going to turn your head. And again, if your nose is straight to the ceiling, you are at maximum spinal rotation. We're reaching strongly through the heels. My knees are not locking, but I am engaging my legs. I'm backing up the right kidney, the left kidney, actually, sorry, the left kidney a little bit more. So I'm not rotating into my lumbar spine. And I'm just gently turning the head, looking behind my right shoulder with my eyes. One more deep breath. And then slowly release. Very good. Let's turn onto your belly for a moment. If you have your pillow here, your little towel, you can roll it and put the roll right underneath your forehead. Or if you don't have a pillow, you can use your hands and put your hands underneath your forehead. We're going to tuck the toes under. We always want to tuck the toes under. It's the one thing we're tucking, not the pelvis. And we're going to find our wagon wheels. Both hip bones evenly heavy. Should you not feel your hip bones on the floor, maybe if you can also add a little towel or a blanket underneath your pelvis. That should unload. If your back was not feeling happy here, this is going to help your back to feel much happier. And what we're going to do is here, we're going to pick up the right knee only. So your toes are still tucked under. You're going to pick up the right knee and you're reaching gently through that right heel. And then you're going to lower the right knee down. And you're going to reach and lift the left knee up, reaching through the left heel. But at the same time, resist the knee to hyperextend here. We don't want to push the knee up to the ceiling. We're reaching the heel away and release. And you're going to reach the right heel away. Your right glutes should be activated. And you're going to reach the left heel away. If for some reason this is not feeling good in your lower back, pick up your kidneys a little bit more. So you're going to engage the abdominals, hollow them away from the floor. You might pick up your belly button slightly. And that is going to help elongate the lower back. Keep alternating legs. Keep going side to side, lifting the knees. If you feel really good about this, you can pick up the whole leg. You can point the toes and release, and then picking up the whole leg, you can point the toes and release. Picking up the leg, of course, is much more work than just picking up the knee. Keep picking up your kidneys to prevent your lower back from assisting here. We're going to do one more time on the left side. picking up the leg or just the knee, and then release. Very good. Put both hands on either side of the rib cage. So now your roll, if you have your roll, that comes in really handy. And you're going to have the hands maybe the height of your armpits. And you're going to widen the fingers a lot. So you want to spread your hand really wide. This is your real estate that you own. You're going to claim it. You're squeezing the shoulder blades together so the upper arm bones come away from the floor, and you're going to squeeze your toes. You're going to tuck your toes. And in this position already with your tucked toes and the squeezing of the shoulder blades, you should feel a lot of work happening in the back body. Now imagine you want to pull yourself forward. So your hands isometrically are pulling down towards your pelvis. You should feel more work and then release that. Let the shoulders collapse if they need to do that. But before we're going again, you're going to start to squeeze the shoulders together. You're going to pick up the kidneys a little bit. So again, it's that hollowing, the lifting of the navel. The toes are still tucked. I'm going to squeeze the shoulders. I'm going to pull my hands, and maybe my forehead gently lifts off the floor. Tiny, tiny lift. And then release that. On the last one, we can add one more component, or you can do what you've been doing. You can not lift your head. You can barely lift your head. But on this last one, we're going to start again with the squeeze of the shoulder blades. We can pick up the kidneys. We're going to pick up the toes a tiny bit. We're going to pick up the forehead a tiny bit, and we're going to pull ourselves. We're depressing the shoulder blades. We're working the whole back chain, and then slowly release. Very good. You're going to push yourself up any which way, and we're going to come to standing. Take your time. So this is a great opportunity to find a bit of a transition here. So maybe from your hands and knees, 1 foot steps forward. We're coming into a little bit of what I call a crouch. And then it could be a stand, right? That's definitely something we're going to be working on a lot. You step 1 foot forward, yep, and then coming all the way up. Take your time, breathing. Very good. So I'm going to show my side here. We're going to go ahead and step 1 foot forward. We'll say the right foot is stepping forward. And the left foot is behind, but the left foot is also turned slightly out. So we're in this little asymmetrical stance here. Right foot forward, left foot back, and slightly turned out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift onto my back foot. So here, most of my weight, 80–90% of my body weight right now is on my left foot. The left foot is turned out and the left knee is turned out. That's good. So you want to really pay attention here, and you can totally look at your feet. You want to pay attention. If your left foot is really turned out and your knee is not, that's not good. So it's about maybe not even a 45-degree angle if you think about it. So we're shifting back. Now we're going to pull the right foot into the floor, and we're going to pull ourselves forward. My left heel is going to lift up, and now I have 80%, 90%. And if you need to step a little wider, you can step a little wider, Tom. So you can go a little wider into your, yeah. The narrower the stance, the more wobbly this gets. You can make this as wide of a stance as you need to. There's no recipe here. This is just, we're going to shift forward and backward. I'm pulling my feet underneath me. I'm coming forward, and then I am pushing my feet forward, and I'm shifting backward. Yes, feel what happens here in the pelvis. I'm trying to stick my butt a little bit out and I'm gently just shifting. Now let's switch sides. Left foot is forward, right foot is back. And back foot is turned out 40 degrees maybe. My knee is turned in the same direction as my second and third toe. My front foot is straight. My front knee is straight. And I have, now you could play around with this. This is only if you feel really good about this. Can I have so much weight in my back leg that I could pick up my front foot, right? That's an option. Don't worry about it. Yeah, tiny pickup. If you need to hold on to something, hold on to something, but then put that left foot down and you're going to pull the floor underneath you forward. Now here goes my sassy left hip. We talked about that already. I don't want to have my hip here because if you can see this, if my hip is here, I have to go sideways here in my upper body, right? So I want to have sassy hips so my upper body can stay very stable and in line with my lower body. And I'm going to shift back, sassy right hip. Beautiful. And I'm going to pull and I'm going to shift forward. And here's my sassy left hip, making sure again, my knee and my toes are aligned. That's very important. Going back one more time. Right leg, maybe my left foot lifts up, maybe not, maybe it's just the heel. Yeah. And this could be, this could be anything eventually. This could be a kick if you needed to. Yes. And then shift one more time forward. And potentially my back foot could lift up here. Potentially. But don't stay. So notice if this is getting to be like, whoa, slackline feeling. Can I sink a little bit more into the front foot? And that's what enables me to pick up the back foot and then release. So this standing on one leg is really important because walking is standing on one leg on occasion. If standing on one leg is challenging, walking will be challenging. And that's definitely something you don't want to be challenged at, walking, right? So now we're going to do the same thing side to side. So we're going to shift. So my feet are parallel at this point. Maybe there's a slight internal rotation. And I'm going to sassy my right hip. I'm sticking my butt out. I'm bending my knees. You definitely want to have some bent knees here. And then I'm going to push the floor to the right and my hips go to the left. I'm going to push the floor to the other side. So my hips go to the right or to the left. And noticing my upper body is not really moving much here. My upper body is staying almost center, and it's really my hips that are moving. So this is a wonderful hip opener without any stretch. We're just nice. We're just swaying. Yes, that's it. Exactly. We're just swaying the pelvis side to side. Now here again, you can say, let's go to the right leg. My knees bent. Can I pick up my left foot? Both knees bent. Yeah, so take that hip tom more to the right. Yes. And then see if you can pick those left toes up. Maybe not. That is better. Exactly, because if the hip is here, the only way we have to go is this way. So this is why hip strength and length paired together are vital. So we're going to the left hip is out, and I might pick up my right toes. Maybe not. Yeah, so yes, there you go. Keep the left knee bent, and then maybe pick up that right leg. Maybe not. All I really want you to feel is the engagement and the work that is happening right in the outer hip here. And if your hip is strong and resilient, your back will be easy and movable. If the hip is rigid, your back is rigid. So this is kind of just a weird combination that our brain sometimes chooses to do for us. So very good. So let's do one more thing here. So let's shift. I'm gonna mirror. So we're gonna shift onto your left leg. So left hip is sassy. Left hip is sassy. Left hip goes to the left. Yeah, bending both knees. And let's take our head and look over the right shoulder. So we're standing mostly on the left leg, and I'm looking with my head over the right shoulder. Big breath. And then I'm going to shift over onto my right leg. My hip is sassy. My left heel is slightly lifted, and I'm going to look with my head over my left shoulder. So we're turning the head freely. I'm going to shift onto the right leg. I'm going to look over onto my left leg. I'm going to look over the right shoulder. Sorry about that. And I'm going to shift onto my right leg. And I'm going to look over my left shoulder. There should be some sensation happening in your neck. This is a big rotation we're looking at here. Very good. Now, shake it out a little bit. Now we're going to do tiny little squats. So if you feel challenged here, standing on one leg, maybe you want to hold on to something. It's always really great. If you feel at all in doubt, you can have a chair here, right? This is great with a chair. The front foot is straight. The back foot is turned out. And I'm going to do little curtsy squats. Yes, I'm pulling myself down and I'm going to push up. Really think about pulling yourself to the floor. Now, if you can, so this is very good. Don't go any further. Your right leg is the heavy leg for now. Tiny little bends. I'm sticking my butt out. Good. Do one more. Now, if you, for some reason, feel really good about this, you're going to shift back onto the back leg. That's the heavy one. Yes, Mary, that's it. Keep it. Yes. And then pull forward. Good. You can do this with your chair. You're going to go down, pull your toes. That's beautiful. Pull the toes into the floor and then coming back up. Nice. One more time. So this is a lot about how much can I bend my knees? And your knees might not bend very much right now. That's okay. Very good. Shake it out. Let's do the other side. Left foot forward, right foot back. So first I'm starting out with the weight more on the left, on the front foot. And I'm going to do tiny little curtsy squats. I want to monitor my knees. The back knee is turned out. The front knee goes straight forward. And my front big toe is very heavy. You want to keep the knee from wobbling side to side. If the knee wobbles right now, just becoming aware of it is huge, right? Go really small. Picky, no. Picky, stop. No, it's good. Thank you. And then go a little further down and coming up. That's it. Little further. Pull yourself down into the floor if you can, even with the help of your chair. Sit back on the back knee and heel, and then pull yourself up and forward. Go small. Don't make it too big. Good. And pull forward. And we do one more time. Slowly pull yourself down and back. That's it, Lisa. And then pull forward and coming up. Very good. And shake it out. Beautiful. All right, let's come one more time down onto your back. Have your little pillow here for your head if you need it. And you can roll through your side to wrap onto your back. And we're going to do one little abdominal challenge here, or big challenge actually. So my sits bones are heavy. My wagon wheels are rotating away from me. And then I'm slowly going to pick up one leg at a time in what we would call the tabletop. Keep the kidneys really heavy. Very good. So the ribs are very heavy. They do want to pop up, but do your best what you can to take those ribs down to the floor. Reach your arms up to the ceiling. Flex your palms. Yeah. And then see if you very slowly can start to reach your feet up to the ceiling as well. Don't straighten your legs at all. Don't straighten them at all. Keep them slightly bent. Drop your sits bones, drop your ribs, bra strap area, diaphragm area, and then see if we can lift our head off the floor and look through our legs and breathe. Big breaths. You should feel this a lot in the front of your neck. If you feel it in the back, settle your head back a little bit and drop your chin a little more toward your chest. Good. Slowly lower your head down. Lower one foot at a time. Lower your hands down by your side. Very good. And then the last thing we're going to do is you're going to come up to sitting. You're going to put your feet flat on the floor, and you're going to bring your hands behind you. Now the thumbs are facing outward, and the fingers will all point backward. Now, distance of your feet will make a difference in the challenge of your hamstrings, so we can have the feet pretty close. We're going to roll the shoulders together. So we're going to squeeze the shoulders together. I'm going to bend my elbows a slight bit. And then, so that's going to lift the heart already a little bit up. And then I'm pulling my feet into the floor. I'm going to lift my pelvis up. Bend the elbows. Really, no hyperextension in the elbows. And you're going to look up to the ceiling, and we're breathing. And then slowly lower your pelvis back down. Very good. We'll do that 2 more times. If you want to walk your feet a little further away, you can do that. It's going to be a little harder for the legs. We're going to grab on with all of your fingers to the floor. You want to have especially your thumb and index really digging in. Slight bend in the elbows. And then lower back down. You should feel your legs, and you definitely should feel your glutes as well. We'll do 1 more time. We're going to add a little movement to this. So pelvis lifts up, feet pull down into the ground. Make your feet work hard. Let's rock the pelvis towards the heels, and then pull the pelvis back. So your shoulders are over your wrists, or even a little bit behind that. And then we're going to rock the pelvis, look down at your hip. And then as you pull yourself back and lift the pelvis, look up to the ceiling. Dig in with your fingers. We'll do 1 more time. Your forearms might be getting a nice little opening here. And then last one, pelvis lifts up, feet pull down, shoulders squeeze together, and then lower down and release. Lie on your back. Take your time. Wow, that kind of opened the forearms up. I've been doing lots of painting outside, so I can feel that. So that feels great. So letting the feet turn out, the hips release, diaphragm is heavy. And notice again, just checking in what feels different than before. How does my body feel? How heavy is it? How soft is it? How's my breath? Take a couple of deep breaths in, all the way up into the collarbone, all the way down into the feet. One more deep breath. Feel the changes and acknowledge them. This is so important. That it's like, oh yeah, even if it's just one thing where you're like, oh yeah, that feels different. Or that feels a little better. It's huge. You changed a pattern. Excellent. We're done. Walk your feet in, bend your knees. You can roll onto your side and then come all the way up. And we're done. Thank you very much for joining. Good work. And you know, I will put this on Vimeo and you can rewatch and redo as many times as you like. Okay? Thank you. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.